Tonight's species is famous for its yellow mouth and fang teeth. They also have numerous spots, and what I love about them is that they are kid-friendly and can be caught on a variety of different kinds of tackle. My favorite way to fish for them is with topwater lures. Tonight we're talking about trout here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Welcome back to the Florida Insider Fishing Report. We're your hosts, Brie Gabrielle and Captain Rick Murphy. You know, Rick, I'm feeling pretty much at home here on a new set. How about you?
You know, Brie, I really am. I mean, we're over here in the garage area and got one of my little toys behind me that I love to ride around in town. I got my zero-turn Kubota, and I got my trusty co-host, Miss Brie Gabrielle.
You're absolutely right. Well, I'm feeling a little bit more like home here too. It's so pretty. Glad to be back for our second week. But before we say hi to Dave, we are getting into some trout talk today, which I think you know a little bit about, Rick. Now, you say it's kid-friendly, but those teeth, you're supposed to grab them.
No, you're supposed to grab them just over the top of the back, but the cool part about them is that, you know, the kids love watching the popping cork when the poppy's down. That's what we say, when the poppy's down, then you just got to keep reeling. They come up and they jump and they, you know, shake their head on the water.
You can practice counting spots.
And it's really interesting for those babies because they don't pull so hard that it turns them off, you know?
Right,
and then they can catch a whole bunch of them.
They can see the cork go down.
And the bycatch is certainly a jack and a ladyfish, so it's fun for everybody.
Fun fishing. All right, well, that being said, let's say hi to our CCA workbench guru, Dave Farrell.
He's doing my whole thing in the front. He's doing my whole spiel.
How would I know that?
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm feeling pretty yellow over here. Very nice, aren't I?
You got trout yellow.
You got that trout yellow on, Dave. You're looking pretty good.
I'm telling you, it's a yellow mouth.
You look good on that, Real Legends, baby.
Absolutely. All right, taking us fishing for trout first is Captain Mike Holliday in the Fish Bites East region. Mike, tell us how it's done.
Well, you know, Brie, the warm weather we've had and the spring run of mullet, they kind of combine this time of year to really fire up the sea trout bite. The best stuff is at first light in areas like the docks along Midway Road or Savannah Road or Torpy Road, and also the grassy areas around Middle Cove, the old inlet area, Queens Cove. All those areas are in the Indian River where we have the best seagrass areas. In areas where the water is super clear, you can even sight cast them early in the morning with lures or flies. This is the time of year sea trout spawn, so what they're looking for is a high-fat diet, which pretty much means bait fish. So you want to throw topwater plugs, switch baits, saltwater assassin, 6 and 7 inch shads. My favorite color this time of year by far is drunk monkey, but any of the darker colors like Houdini or Mama's 14K will work. You can also fish a rattle cork with a pinfish or a sand perch or a pilchard. A lot of those are out on the flats right now just hatching. Average sea trout in my area is going to be 2 to 3 pounds, but fish to 10 pounds were caught this week, and it's just going to ramp up in the weeks coming up. I got a photo, that shaggy Somalski with one of those big sea trout that I'm talking about. He caught that on a live sand perch. He was fishing out of Fort Pierce with Captain Mark Dravo. The other thing, all this warm weather has the snook bite in full gear too. And with the mullet pushing hard in places like the St. Lucie and the Loxahatchee rivers, this is a great time to get on the water before the sun comes up and spend those first 2 hours of the day throwing a topwater plug along the seawalls or the docks with that big explosive snook bite. There's also been some big fish, not really big fish, but legal and sublegal fish that are pushing towards the inlets right now and around the inlets and just on the beaches, just outside those inlets. Those fish are holding tight to the shorelines. You can sight cast them in the middle of the day with a live pilchard or a copper juice colored saltwater assassin 4-inch shad. The key right now, look for the mullet schools. Wherever the mullets are traversing the shoreline, they'll be snooking those areas. Don't overlook the smaller canals and waterways, places like the Ermine River and the mouth of Taylor Creek. They have a lot of big fish in them right now. Average snook's going to be 4 to 14 pounds.
All right, let's go offshore, bub.
Well, we've had a good push of mostly small dolphin. So I would expect to see the big fish of April and May start to trickle through any day right now. There's really no pattern to the dolphin movements. Some days are as shallow as 70 feet. The next day they're in 1,000 feet or more. The bite does seem to be best when there's a north or northeast wind that's stacking up the seas, making it a little bit rough. You want to start your day trolling rig value with a chartreuse or blue and white skirt or a feather and strip bait. Those are good ways to cover a lot of water. Try to get out early and look for weed lines and color changes or diving birds. This time of year, we get a lot of big dolphin off frigate birds, so watch for frigate birds. Average dolphins are going to be 8 to 10 pounds. Fish to 20 pounds or more are pretty much common every day right now. The other thing, the shift in our prevailing winds from the northeasterly winds that we get in the wintertime to the warmer southeasterly winds we get in the spring and summer, that brings the thread fins and sardine schools that are out on the reefs closer to shore. And as they move across those reefs, the mutton snapper are there waiting for them. The best bites for muttons right now are on the new and full moons, but you can pretty much target them any time of year, from any time of any day really, from now through August in places like the Loran Tower Ledge, the 6 and 8 mile reefs, and the 85-foot ledge off Jupiter. A lot of muttons are in that 4 to 8 pound range, so you want to just drift the reef using a frozen sardine or cigar minnow or a pilchard. If you're strictly looking for that one real big mutton, you want to anchor up, chum a little bit, fish a grunt plug or a ballyhoo plug, and you should get that bite. I got a photo of muttons right now, give you an idea of some of the big ones that are around. That's Ashlyn Ernest with a big mutton snapper. She caught that fish with Captain Glenn Cameron on the Floridian charter boat. That fish ate a jig and a ballyhoo combination.
Well, I'd say it did.
That's nice.
Hey, Bub, we got to talk about some bass fishing. Sure has been nice weather. How's the fishing?
It has been, and it's interesting because we're in the dry season. We're on the very tail end of the dry season. And that means the flats and ponds that normally are flooded in the Sawgrass Recreation Area, they've all dried up, and that pushes the entire bass population into those deeper box-cut canals. So from Holiday Park west, the canal bass bite's just been amazing. Anglers are catching 50 bass per person by 11 o'clock in the morning. The majority of fish are going to hold tight along the shoreline vegetation. So you can just start by finesse fishing, make a long cast parallel to the reeds with a white or a chartreuse colored Bass Assassin 5-inch shad and just swim it back to the boat. Or you can rig a Fat Job Senko style and just twitch it and then let it fall along the edge of the grass. You're going to get a lot of bites. Watch for any running water. If you find a bridge or a culvert with moving water, you can just post up on that and catch a fish on just about every cast. Most of the bass are 1 to 2 pounds, but they're fish to 6 pounds being caught. And that should go on really for about another 3 weeks. It's an easy 50 fish morning. Some guys are talking to 100 fish or more.
All right, thank you so much, Mike. Great report from the Fish Bites East region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the T&H marine hotspots for the East region. Mike says that inshore, snook along the shorelines of the South Fork of the St. Lucie River, topwater plugs, mullet, or flies along the sandbanks are going to work for those snook. And then offshore, blackfin tunas, 220 to 350 feet of water south of Lake Worth Inlet. Live chum with pilchards or minnows, and then use pilchards for bait, Brie.
Well, our next captain from the Startron Central West region definitely knows how, when, where, and well, just about everything there is to know about trout. So, Paige, this is your moment. Go for it.
You know I'm just a speckled trout fisherman from Sarasota, Florida.
Yes, we do.
That's all I've ever been. And I love talking trout fishing. And you guys know what? Due to the red tide just 2 short years ago, the trout took a hard hit, but thanks to good stewardship from all our anglers and also from CCA and other agencies, we've had a really good comeback on the speckled trout. And numbers that all of us are surprised by, from being fishing guides to FWC agents to your average weekend angler. Everybody's catching trout, and they're catching them on artificials just as good as live bait. You know, in our region, the speckled trout is a year-round species, but in the wintertime, and I say that when the water gets below 65 degrees, which is really only January and February anymore, he's going to get back in back bays and estuaries, even some residential canals. Other than that, he likes to stay out on the deeper grass flats where the water is clean. He likes clean water. Find some clean water over broken sand and grass, maybe with some oyster bars nearby, and especially some small white birds diving. and that's a good recipe for catching trout. Once you find it, you don't need a live well full of bait. It's not a bad thing not to have, but if you just have some lures, set up a drift over these grass flat areas according to your wind or tide or both, and drift across these flats. It's not a bad idea to start with like a Bass Assassin jerkbait or paddle tail in an 1/8 or 1/4 ounce jig head. I like the sea shad because it gives it a little more action, and I like it in the violet moon pattern if the water's real clean and clear, or pearl white. And then if it's a little off colored, it's hard to beat the golden brim or root beer. For bigger trout, try casting topwater plugs in 1 foot to 3 foot of water tight to the shoreline or around oyster bars or mangroves with lots of big black mullets swimming around, and you're going to get that big hit on a speckled trout topwater hit. If it's slick calm condition, use a quieter plug. If it's choppy, use a bigger plug like a Zara Spook. You can use live bait for trout. I like using a free line pilchard or even a select shrimp. If the grass is bad, you can put a cork under them. And I like using a 1 or a 1/0 Eagle Claw hook, light wire with about 1 foot, 1.5 foot of 15 to 20 pound fluorocarbon under a popping cork. No matter how you slice it, looks like it's going to be a really good spring and summer for trout fishing. And I've got a couple photos tonight. One of a good friend of yours, Rick, homestead farmer Lewis Walker, with the trout he caught with me just about a week ago.
All right, that's nice. All right, Paige, what else you got for us, bud?
You know, I mentioned the redfish last week as well, but the snook fishing's doing well again, thanks to the closures. We're in our 2nd year, and you know what? The snook are already starting to get in the passes and out along the beaches, around docks and rock piles, anywhere there's down trees. Like we've got a lot of down trees right by Longboat Pass, also down around Gasparilla Pass, same thing. Good moving water, and you're going to be able to set up current from these structure, free line a pilchard or a pinfish down current, and you're going to hook them. Guys that like to fish at night around the bridges like the New Pass Bridge, as well as John's Pass Bridge, it's tough to beat a small live silver mullet or a small ladyfish for live bait. Now, if you like throwing lures, it's tough to beat a topwater surface plug or a soft plastic, again, pretty much just like you throw at the trout. But if you're going to stick with a live bait, one of the new Trocor Eagle Claw Trocor circle hooks in a 3/0 or 4/0 is going to get the job done. Moving offshore, permit fishing, like I said last week, it was a coin toss between permit and red grouper. Well, the permit are going strong this week with lots of fish being caught in that 7 to 11 mile range from Anna Maria south of Venice. Pretty much, Rick, the key's been getting out there on the calmer days, which we've had quite a few of lately, setting up your boat with your anchor lock on your trolling motor, and is staying at least a full cast to a cast and a half off your structure. A small quarter-side pass crab rigged on light leader, keep it under 30 if you can, and a 2 or 3/0 light wire circle hook Eagle Claw is going to get the job done. And if they're not staying down, maybe put a small split shot 6 to 8 inches above your hook, and we're catching permit anywhere from 12 to 30 pounds. Another key is having a good pair of Blue Mirror Coasters while you're out there so you can see those fish raised up. I've got a permit photo tonight of 2 happy clients with Captain Jason Stock of Full Send Charters out of Anna Maria. And my last species tonight, kingfish. That kingfish has been fired up for the whole month of March, and it looks like going into April, he's just going to be just as good. Anywhere from right off the beach, Rick, to 11 miles out. The key has been finding the big schools of thread fins, and they're going to be holding over all types of hard bottom, be it an artificial reef or just a small area of limestone. You're going to find them. Don't be surprised if you find some mackerels and sharks mixed in with them. You can troll for them, or you can just flatline big pilchards or thread fins. Again, the anchor lock on your trolling motor is a great technique. And my last photo tonight is of Captain Dawson Day of Catch Sarasota Charters with a big kingfish that he caught right off of Longboat Key just last week.
All right, Captain Page, great report tonight. We appreciate you very much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the daiquiri deck hotspots from the Central West region. He says inshore speckled trout fish the deeper patches off the grass, and use off a rattlesnake key with saltwater assassin Houdini sea shad on a quarter-ounce chartreuse jig head, and then offshore permit holding on the reefs and the wrecks in 7 to 11 miles off of Venice. Small quarter-sized past crabs on the Eagle Claw Trocar 5.0 circle hook will work best for them. Don't you think?
There you go, Rick. I think so. All right, we're just getting started here on the new and improved Florida Insider Fishing Report. And coming up, we're fishing in the Discover Crystal River Northwest region. But first, let's take a gander at the CCA workbench and check out what Dave Farrell is talking a trout.
We're talking about trout, and I'm glad I don't have to read nothing. I'll tell you that. But yeah, we're going to talk about how to catch the trout.
It's all in that pretty head of yours, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Stuffed
it is.
in there.
That's
Stuffed in there.
scary.
We'll be back.
That's big scarier than big scary.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Contender Boats, always in the game. Noble Air Charters, raising the bar yet again. RHODAN, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Sirius XM Marine, weather, fishing info, and channel surfing. And Daiquiri Deck, Sarasota's favorite place to meet.
An entirely new species of extreme predator is moving offshore. The Yamaha 5.6-liter V8 XTO offshore outboard. Extreme big block thrust and power in the industry's first direct injection 4-stroke. Quiet, efficient, powerful, and proven Yamaha reliability. More than an outboard, it's a fully integrated power system. The all-new Yamaha V8 XTO offshore.
Why is Casa Vieja Lodge on everyone's bucket list?
Left teaser! Left flat as well, 2 fish! They're everywhere! Right flat teaser as well! Left flat, right flat teaser!
Come to Casa Vieja Lodge and check it off your list.
Well, we're here at the CCA workbench.
Yeah, man.
And, you know, Academy certainly supports the rigs and techniques every single week. And so, Dave, you know, trout is something that you and I both love to catch. We went and caught them in Texas and all kinds of
It's probably the
places.
first thing that I, saltwater fish that I think I ever caught, besides pinfish, was a trout.
Yeah.
And I remember it distinctly. I was fishing with a Boone trout tout that was bright orange. That was the big deal back then. It was on a big old half ounce jig, yeah. And I caught it in the Indian River.
It took a horse and buggy to get there, right?
Yeah, no, but I'm not that old. No. But the spotted sea trout is one of the best and most sought-after game fish in Florida. Everybody wants to catch one, and what's good about them is that you can get a hold of them. Either you don't have to have a boat, you can go wading for them, which is what I was doing when I first started catching them. I started catching them in the Indian River, wading on the backside of Merritt Island. We'd go after school, so we'd get over there right about dusk and start throwing topwater plugs, and that's how I, fell in love with catching trout on topwater plugs.
Of course you
on
did.
big, I'd say big now, but on a regular size bait caster.
Yeah.
You know, we used a 7-foot rod with a bait caster on it. Same stuff that we used for bass. You know, we didn't have braid back then, but nowadays you can put 10-pound or 15-pound braid on there and catch every trout and redfish probably that swims around. And you know, you can use your bass stuff to catch them. That's what's so great about it. You don't have to, you know, if you're a bass fisherman, you don't have to change out all your gear and go up in size to go catch them. And you know, they get pretty good size too, you know, and the little ones aren't that good to eat, but the bigger ones are fairly good to eat once they get up to it. They get a little firmer. Unlike most fish, trout seems to get better the bigger he gets, you know.
Yeah, and Florida's, I mean, a lot of the world record trout that have been caught in the world.
The world record trout has been caught in Fort Pierce, actually, 17.7 pounds.
Wow.
Which is a huge trout. It's a big croaker.
Yeah.
You know, they're a white sea bass, really, with spots on them. You know, the Pacific, they have a giant fish called a white sea bass, and he looks just like a trout. And in Australia, they got a thing called a mulloway, and he looks just like a trout. You know, and that's what they are. They're all in the croaker family.
So what are we going to use to catch them?
Well, they're ambush feeders. So they're fish. They like to be in water that's moving, usually either tidal or, you know, where a river or something comes out into the brackish water. They really love creek mouths and stuff like that. So they hide down in the grass and then they come up to eat whatever's coming by. They really like shrimp. They really like any kind of little white baits that are in the area, silver sides, mullet. They love mullet, either little mullet or big mullet. And you'd be surprised, you know, when you look at a trout and look at his mouth, you're thinking, you know, they probably can't eat that big of stuff. But they can eat a 3 or 4 pound trout will try to eat a mullet that weighs a pound.
Right.
I mean, they will swallow a huge bait. And if you want to catch a big trout, it's best to
throw big stuff.
Throw a big bait at them, because you know, if you throw a good sized mullet, you know, like 4 or 5 inches long, or even 6 inches long, if there's big trout in the area, or you know, select a good big shrimp, you know, that's really good to eat, or a pinfish. They like to eat pinfish. You know, or what we have here on our coastline over here, we have a thing called a pigfish, which is a little grunt that gets down in the grass and grunts. And when you put him on a hook and a bobber, he grunts a lot, and he will make a trout come from a long way to go to eat him. Large trout, you know, you have to go usually early in the morning. They're not a fish that you usually catch at 12 o'clock, although I have caught some big trout at noon. Most of the time, they're going to be real up in the really shallow water early in the morning, chasing little baits along the shoreline, and you can spot them. And you know, you can go and try to catch them. They look like a big brown log up there laying in the really shallow water. And those two right there are really great for them. The Zara Spook there for the top water, and that's a soft-sided mirror lure. And you know, anytime you find the bait, you know, usually you find trout around, either little ones or big ones. One rule of thumb, if you're catching a lot of little trout, you're probably not going to catch big trout there, because the little trout and the big trout don't hang out. Usually a big trout will eat a little trout, so they're not hanging out in the same spot. But if you catch one little trout, you're probably going to catch more. You can sit there and just wear them out usually. Yeah.
And that's one of the things that's so fun about throwing Bass Assassins,
right?
Because you can throw a 4-inch sea shad with a paddle tail where it vibrates, or you can they make some big baits,
right,
which will allow you, like this looks a lot like some of the white bait that some of the fellas are talking about, the northern minnow sea shad,
it looks like a little
shad.
mullet too in the water.
Yeah.
It really does.
And
anything
that's the cool
white,
part.
especially in the water, you know, we got the water, we're getting a lot of water problems. If the water's not that clear, you can go to a pure white one or even a pure black one sometimes. And I like black and gold as well. It's like the dye dapper with the black and gold. That's a really good one to just search bait with. Also a spoon, which is another reason why it's a good deal. You know, you can get a gold spoon and put you a little diamond swivel on the front of it, so it won't twist up your line, and you can throw that gold spoon over and over and over and over again, and as a search bait. And the last time I actually went fishing for trout, I was in a place I didn't know where anything was at, and I started trolling a little bit down the shoreline, and I got a little trout bite, and I went back and got another little trout bite, and I put the anchor out and sat there and just wore them out. So yeah, the spoon's a great thing because it doesn't really take any brains at all.
Can you believe that was 5 minutes?
No, probably was
Golly,
6.
Brie, we need another minute or so just to get done over here, Brie.
I know. You guys are talking a lot over there, but there's lots of options, and I love that. All right, trout are definitely sitting at the popular kids table in the Discover Crystal River Northwest region. So, Captain Hageman, let's hear where we can get them.
My region was absolutely made for trout fishing. We got miles and miles of turtle grass shorelines that can be found throughout my whole region. Most of the fishing inshore, most fished inshore species we have. It's just fish that everybody can go out and target, from kids to that pro angler out there. They can go out and catch trout in my area. Probably one of the most fished, like I said. They can be caught on fly, plug, soft plastics, live baits. As far as live baits go, shrimp, sardines, small pinfish, and grass grunts are all effective, either free-lined or under a cork. Trout in my region can be caught on the grass flats in anywhere from 1 to 12 feet of water. So depending on the water temp's going to be where they're at. Trout are an ambush feeder, so you want to look around broken bottom. When I talk about broken bottom, I talk about this a lot in my reports, and that's where the sand meets the grass, or the grass thins out, or changes types from turtle to eel. The trout will sit right on those edges right there and ambush their prey as it goes over them on the tide. In the winter months, they tend to group up, and our larger fish move in, that 2 to 5 pound fish, and fish all the way up to 8 pounds. In the summer months, they head out to a little deeper water to stay a little cooler. So you want to find them in deeper water. And the challenges with that is slowing down your retrieve, looking for that deeper water where those fish like to hide out and get a little cooler. But right now, our trout are sitting from Captain Jimbo Keith of Saltwater Assassin Fishing Charters out of Cedar Key. His trout bites picked up in the last couple weeks because of the 70-degree water temperature we got in that 2 to 4 foot of water. Moving down the coast a little bit, Captain Mike Manning of Action Fishing Charters reports his speckled trout bite right now in Tarpon Springs. The artificial baits in the morning have been working real good at topwater plugs. He's catching some big trout on the rise and fall in anywhere from 2 to 4 feet of water. He's also catching them on sardines under a cork in that same depth. 18 to 24 inches of fluorocarbon leader with a turtle 2-aught circle hook with a float over that same turtle grass. And I've got a photo here of a nice West Coast trout. That's about an average fish for us.
That's a nice looking fish there, dude. Good job. All right, what else you got for me this week?
Staying inshore, Captain Mario Costello of Tall Tales Charters, fishing out of the Plantation Inn on Crystal River, reports a good snook bite right now around the rocky shorelines from Crystal River to Yankeetown. He's freelining either a live pinfish or a jumbo shrimp on a 4-aught circle hook on the incoming tide. The snook are ranging in his area anywhere from 28 to 32 inches, with the occasional monster mixed in. Moving down the coastline, Captain Jim Huddleston of CaptainHud.com reports the Ozona fishing bite right now, the snook bite down by him. Most of the fish in the backcountry are moving out towards the beaches with the water continuing to warm up and getting ready for that summer spawn, which will be in late July. But they're starting to make their way out there right now. Live sardines and pinfish have been the baits of choice, either free-lined or under a cork. Moving down the coast, even a little more, St. Pete, Captain Jamie Goodwin of GoFloridaFishing.com reports his snook bite has been really strong right now on the outgoing tide. He's fishing around docks, potholes, mangrove points, all with good water flow right now. And sardines free-lined with a 4-aught circle hook has been the bait of choice. He's using anywhere from 2 to 3 feet of 25-pound fluorocarbon leader. And I've got a picture here of John Hyde with his biggest snook ever. His 37-inch fish there.
Wow, nice. That's a good-looking picture there, Hag.
Yeah.
All right, what else you got?
Offshore, the mangrove snapper bite has been really good right now in that 30 to 75 feet of water over any kind of high relief structure right now or artificial reef. Live shrimp, small sardines, small pinfish on a knocker rig with 25 to 40-pound fluorocarbon raider. 2-aught to 3-aught circle hook with a 1/2 ounce to 3-ounce sinker, depending on the depth you're fishing. And that knocker rig, that hook, is an egg sinker, and it's right above the hook. That lets your bait fall down to the bottom. That little shrimp, pinfish, or whatever, the tide can pull that out. You want to give it a little slack. The trick to using that is give it a little slack and let that line go right through that egg sinker and get away from it a little bit. Then that fish can pick that bait up without feeling it. It's a great thing for mangrove snapper, not feeling that late. Staying offshore, the kingfish bite right now to St. Pete remains really strong. The reefs, artificial wrecks, and 30 to 70 feet of water. Either slow troll with live blue runners, thread fins, and sardines on number 3 to 4 wire, and a stinger rig is working really well. Also, fast trolling, big lip spoons and plugs are catching some good fish too. Right now, our kingfish are averaging anywhere from 7 to 25 pounds as those schoolies, and we got the occasional smoker coming through with those 30-plus pound fish.
All right, thanks so much,
Should be a nice, pretty weekend this weekend, so get out there.
We'll be out there, bud. All right, thank you so much. We're going to go and take a look at the Alta equipment hotspots from the Northwest region. He says that inshore, the snook bite has been heating up. Look for the fish around good current flows and ambush points and use live pilchards for bait. And then offshore, mangrove snapper over the rock piles and 50 to 70 feet of water for those snappers, Brie.
Snappers! Oh, I haven't heard that this season yet. Your snappers. Say it again.
Snapper.
Oh, gosh. Missed you.
Yeah,
all right, we're
I'm
keeping
back.
you busy catching in the Bell Central East and Keys region, so sit tight, and we'll be right back with your captains here on the Florida
Insider
Fishing
Report.
Oh, we're such a good team.
Yes, we are.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Total Boat Control, Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventure. GARMIN, join the club. Kubota, find a Kubota dealer near you at gokubota.com. And Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala.
I'm Captain Rick Murphy, and I'm a life member of CCA. Why am I so involved with CCA, you ask? Because I want our fisheries to be in better shape for my kids and their kids. CCA is working to ensure the future of recreational fisheries and the rights of recreational anglers. The future of fishing starts today with you. How do you want to leave things with your kids? If you're like me, you'll want to make the right choice and go to joinccaflorida.com right now.
Real Legends Performance Clothing. Everything you need to be comfortable on the water all day long. Keeps you cool, dry, and protected from the sun. Durable performance technology at an unbeatable value. Shop anytime or go to reallegends.com to find a Bell store near you. Navigating at night can be dangerous, even for the most experienced drivers. With over 400,000 pixels, Night Track makes it possible to navigate in the dark with confidence. Night Track seamlessly interfaces with all multifunction displays, 2013 or newer, and offers boaters or the outdoorsman peace of mind at an affordable price. For more information, call 251-605-9100.
All right, we are back and ready for our next captain, Jim Ross, in the Bell Central East region. How we looking, Jim?
Oh, I'm looking fantastic this week because speckled trout are one of our favorite species to catch, and we're finding decent numbers of them right now, Brie, throughout the Indian and Banana rivers. Now, the best action seems to be right around first light, and you want to use topwater plugs and walk the dog, or a chugger style will work pretty good, or the saltwater assassin soft plastic jerk baits, those 5-inch jerk baits. And you want to fish those around those schools of mullet in the grass beds or the calorpa type beds, which is kind of a grass-looking algae. They seem to be holding around both of those right now. Now, also the bigger fish can be found around rocky points, deadfalls, spoil islands, and some of those, larger fish are going to feed throughout the day. So don't just think that just the first thing in the morning you're going to find them. Look at your minors and majors. And to get those bigger fish, though, live mullet and live croaker seem to be the most effective thing to use. The smaller fish will chase just about anything. Now, our average fish is running about 14 to 18 inches right now, but we've got some larger fish, and like I said, you can catch them at any time of day right now. And I've got a photo here that Captain Richard Bradley of Laguna Fishing Charter sent to me with his customer, Marshall Short from Seattle, Washington, and he recently caught this 30-inch speckled trout on a live finger mullet.
That's a nice picture, Jim. Good job, bub. What else you got?
Oh, the black drum, Rick. Black drum are still on the front burner just like they were last week. We've got schools of 20 to 40-pound fish roaming around in the flats in the Indian River and the Mosquito Lagoons right now. Now, fish bites, sand fleas, cut crab, and live shrimp are some of the better bait choices that you can catch them on. And you want to approach the drum just like they're a school of redfish. They will spook, so it's imperative that you sneak up on them. Push poles, or even if you're bumping them with your trolling motor, even get out and wade rather than try and continue to chase them around on the trolling motor. And I've got another picture here of an average-sized drum that we're getting right now in the Titusville area, and this was Arthur Ty and also Ron Welker. They teamed up to get a couple of these nice fish here this past week.
Oh, holding him like a baby.
Hug a drum, baby.
Swinging offshore, dolphin bite is getting pretty good in the local scales sponsored region, and right now our trolling in the clean green to blue water edge seems to be the best place to find the dolphin. Now, they're spotty still because we haven't gotten into the main run like we will be in the next couple of weeks. But those color changes and anywhere where you find weeds, rips, or temperature breaks can hold this fish right now. Now, for the other guys that have bigger boats and they're running to the east side of the Gulf Stream, 65, 70 miles out, they're doing really, really good, and the numbers of fish are bigger and better. And pink and white and blue and white skirted ballyhoo seem to be the two colors of choice here this couple of days. Most of the dolphin are running about 6 to 15 pounds on this side. Most of them on that side are running from about 15 to 20. And then last thing, have a big enough boat to get over there. The yellowfin tuna, once again, are, those things are over on that far side, and you need to run about 80 miles, maybe 85 miles, and that's where you're going to find the majority of the yellowfins right now. Now, you want to pull some high-speed lures and look for the packs of birds. That's the most important thing, is you have to tune your radar to find those birds. But once you find them, then you can zoom in on them, get in front of those schools, run that line way back there so that you're not mowing the school down and bush hogging them, way out in front of them, but let your lure swing. You should get 4 or 5 shots if you're running 5 lines on good days.
So, Jimmy, I got a question for you, bud. My first question is, you guys have been really wrecking the black drum for about the last 30 or so days. How long is that fishing going to happen?
I'm sorry, Rick. What was the question again about the black drum?
So the question was, how long is that black drum gonna continue to happen? How much longer? Is that a wintertime thing, or what do we got going on?
I'm gonna say that we have now a grouping of black drum that is here year-round. They used to be just a wintertime species, but now they're here all the time, and we've really become good at finding them throughout the year. So pretty much any time of year you can get shots at fish this size. Brie came up in the winter. We're going to be catching them right on through the summer, though.
All right, bub, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the RHODAN hotspots from the Central East region. The RHODAN Marine System hotspots: inshore trout on the top water in the Banana and Indian Rivers. Use small walk-the-dog style of plugs from first light until about 8 o'clock near the mullet pods. And then offshore, king mackerel on the 60 to 90-foot reefs. Use live or frozen herring on a wire stinger rig, Brie.
So you're saying I can hug a big drum all year long?
Yeah, you can make all kinds of music. Just hug a drum, baby.
Thank
hug
goodness.
a drum.
Thank goodness. All right, it's time to go catch a trout in the Keys, so listen up to Captain Randy Tao for the details. Hey, Randy.
Hey, good evening, fish fans. When we talk about trout fishing, that used to be our go-to anywhere, 5 minutes from home, go catch one. But I'll tell you what, it's interesting nowadays, the places that you find a trout, whether it's in a channel, a mullet mud, flamingo, Cape Sable, blue bank, they're really all over the place. And you can go out there and you can't find one, and you can go sometimes, then you can't get away from them. Now, You know, there are certain things to look for. You certainly want to fish where you've got moving water, and I like throwing a popping cork with a live shrimp under it. That's about as guaranteed as it's going to get when it comes to trout fishing when you're really trying to target specifically a trout. A soft plastic under it will work as well, but that's what a lot of the guys do just to catch fish and to get the job done. Now, the size of these trout will vary between wintertime, springtime, summertime, and this past summer, we caught some really big ones. And this time of year, they're about 12 to 14 inches. You get a few 16s in there, but they're not as big generally this time of year. And a lot of the snook spots and redfish spots where you're going to catch redfish and snook, you're catching trout in right now, whether it's a foot of water up on top of the flat or a runoff in one of the channels around snakebite. I've got a photo of Samantha from Fort Myers with a big gator trout she caught in Flamingo doing that popping cork.
Nice, nice. All right, Randy, what else you got inshore for us this week?
You know, the red fishing's been pretty steady, and it's been, you know, one of those things that if you get the right tide, you're going to catch them. And there's different ways of doing it. You got guys that pole that are going to be on top of the flats looking for the fish. Maybe they're in a pothole, maybe they're swimming, maybe they're tailing. And then you got other guys that are blind fishing, muddier water, runoffs, deeper channels, shorelines, things like that. So there's really several ways to go about catching a redfish. It's not just one or two particular things. Now, Captain Dave Dankert, he's a guide out of the Lorelei. I talk to Dave all the time because he's usually putting his boat in at the same time as me, and he catches a lot of redfish. And I said, Dave, you know, if I got to get up on the flat and go look for redfish, what am I going to do? And he goes, my favorite jig of all is just a white little skimmer, quarter-ounce jig tip with shrimp. We catch all our redfish on that. It's working great, and that's my go-to day in, day out. And he doesn't vary from a lot of different tricks, so I got to believe him. And I've got this photo of his lady angler, Riley, with a nice redfish she caught in Flamingo.
Look at that smile. Love it. All right, let's move offshore, Bubba.
You know, the sword fishing, which is one of my favorite things to do, has been pretty good. You know, guys like Nick Stanzik, he does it almost every day, and he catches a lot of them, and he's extremely good at it because he puts his time in. Now, a lot of guys are getting into it as well, and they're catching them. You want to look in 1,500 to 1,700 feet of water. Now, depending on where you're fishing, Marathon, Key West, Key Largo, that depth may vary. So, you know, these ledges and the areas you're going to find these fish are going to be a little bit different throughout the Keys, but generally, that's your depth you're looking for. 10 to 12 pounds of lead you're going to need to get to the bottom. Now, it doesn't mean you have to drag the bottom, but you need to be somewhere within a couple of 100 feet of the bottom is where a lot of these fish are going to be during the day, and you want to use braided line like 65 or 80-pound braided line is going to work the best for you. Now, the key is to pay attention to the tip of the rod. You'll see just the slightest little bounce in your rod tip, that's a bite. It reflects a whole lot different from 1,500 feet down, so you really got to pay attention. Fresh strip baits are the best. Bonitas, dolphin, or even barracuda bellies work really good, and always a squid is your go-to bait. Now, I've got a photo of the guys on the Bar South who are well known for their sail fishing in the East Coast circuit. They do very well, but when there's not a tournament going on, Captain Raul and owner Bob with his son Rob and mate Garth and Eddie, they had to take advantage of the good sword fishing. They went out of Key Largo and caught this one here.
That's a nice one, and they're going to remember that one without the shirt because when you rub on that skin.
Rashy rash.
Rash, rash, Dad. All right. Hey, speaking of rash, I love my rash and mutton snappers, and how is that going on?
Man, Rick, you know I like catching mutton snappers, and what I like about them is I do it in deeper water. A lot of guys catch them shallow on the edge of the reef. I like to get out a little bit deeper. I love it when there's a condition that you can drift parallel the shore because that'll keep you in the optimal depth for a longer period of time. If you don't have any current, you got a wind drift, for example, you might blow through getting 150 feet of water where they're biting, and the next thing you know, you're in 120 and you're not catching them. Now, that is condition related, so you can't really predict what's going to happen. You know, every day is different. But I like to drift with enough lead to get to the bottom, a long leader, and a cigar minnow, ballyhoo, pilchard, or a live ballyhoo works really good for me. And a lot of this stuff, you just want to look for hard bottom. Go on your Garmin, GPS, look at your chart plotter. A lot of times you'll see areas that say rocky bottom, and those are good areas to drift and just cover ground, and you probably will find one. I've got a photo of Sarah with her boyfriend Chris, who had never caught a saltwater fish or been saltwater fishing. They're from New York, and they caught this nice mutton snapper off Key Largo.
All right, Randy, thank you so much. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the Sunset Inn. You know, the one thing I love about those hot spots is that guys really put you on them, exactly what's going on. Inshore, tarpon. I know the tarpon have showed up fishing the bridges early in the morning and late in the afternoon with mullet. Live or dead is working best right now. And then offshore, yellowtails anchor in 60 to 85 feet of water. The current must be behind the boat with maybe a little off-colored water combination that you need to look for. Ballyhoos cut small pieces is the best bait of choice, Brie.
Right to the point. I love it.
Right to it.
All right, we've got our captain from the Alvey Reels Northeast region ready to go, but first let's check out what Dave is up to at the CCA Workbench for our new product segment. Dave.
This thing right here is a game changer for everybody in an outboard boat. Come back and we'll tell you exactly what it is.
Game changing.
Game changer.
Teaser alert. Teaser alert.
Mary Poppins over there.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have fun out there. Ameritrail. Load. Launch. Relax. Real Legends. Exclusively at Bell's. Okuma. Inspired Fishing. Discover Crystal River, Florida. And Maverick Boat Group. Makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, Pathfinder, and Cobia.
At the pinnacle of super high output, four-stroke outboard performance, you'll find Yamaha VMAX SHO, Yamaha's game-changing SHO technology. From exhilarating V6 models to the sleek inline 4s, there's a VMAX SHO for everything from bass to bonefish. It's an extended family of four-strokes engineered for lightweight, inspiring performance, and rock-solid reliability. Discover VMAX SHO and elevate your expectations.
You sons of fishes. Ain't enough fish on this lake for 2 clubs.
Really? Well, we see plenty of fish live with Panoptics.
Yep. Dang, we should get Panoptics. Maybe we'll just take yours.
What's going on here? You boys have license?
Yes, sir.
Nope.
There he is.
Oh, I got it.
Deep within Key Largo, you'll see things that may surprise you. From the unspoiled wilderness of the Florida Everglades to the tranquility of John Pennekamp State Park, look below the surface and you'll find more depth in Key Largo in the Florida Keys.
Well, Dave, we're here at the CCA workbench,
Yes, sir.
and dude, new products, you got them.
Yeah, and this thing's pretty cool. I just ran into this thing up in North Carolina a few weeks ago, and it's been out for a while. It's called the Side Tracker, and it's made by Chatter Lures. And what it is, it's a big spreader bar. They use them up there to fish for tuna fish and white marlins and whatnot. But it's a spreader bar with a directional, I guess a tiller you would call it on here, that you can adjust and have it on your starboard side or your port side, and it'll flip out to 40 feet outside your boat's wake. So if you're in a center console boat, it's a game changer for you. You don't have to have, you don't even have to have outriggers if you don't want to. You can just put those things out and have them all the way out to the side, 40 feet, one on each side, and then you can make it go straight. You put one down the middle if you want. But you could, and plus on the back of it, it's got a big hook. It's made for hooking the fish. It's not just a teaser. It's made to catch fish. It's got a 9-inch floating squid on here. So it's got 250-pound Mamoy is the main line, and 200 is on all the little teasers here. So it's made out of the best stuff that you can get. It's got all Mamoy crimps and hardware on there.
So let me. I'm still a little confused.
Comes in that little bag that I had, that 24 by 12 mesh bag.
So let's say we get this out, or we got this on a rod going to an outrigger clip.
Don't even have to have an outrigger clip.
We just
you
put
can
it
put
in
it in
the
the
rod.
rod holder, and it'll go out 40 feet to the side. Put it from your upper station rod holder, and it'll go 40 feet out.
And then when the white marlin
if you
or
could
the
put
blue
it on a
marlin
clip,
comes up
you
here?
could put it on your outrigger clip. You put it on the outrigger clip, it's 40 foot outside your outrigger now. You have more room to put 2 more lines on your outrigger.
Oh my god!
If you put that one on your out,
I'm
it's
gonna have to
awesome.
be doing some experimental stuff with this, Dave.
Yes, you will. That's Chatter Lures, the Side Tracker.
Side Tracker.
Yep. All right, next we got these. These are the diamond reel. The diamond fishing products. This is the rod and reel leash. It's getting out there in the Gulf Stream, things gets pitching around. You want to make sure you have a leash on your rod and reel. This goes from your anywhere on your boat to the rod and reel leash.
Right.
Till you get a little ring underneath the bottom.
Right.
That one has 12 feet of tightly coiled UV resistant mono. It breaks like 1,000 pounds, so it's not going to come off. It's got stainless steel hardware on there on both ends. So you clip in, and that's you can clip it all the way to your chair. Or just
or the cleat
underneath
in the back,
at the
whatever
cleat,
it is.
whatever you want to put it.
I'm gonna love this for wahoo fishing out of the outboard boats. Man.
Exactly. Keep your stuff in the boat, especially when you're having to go this high speed.
Good job, Diamond.
DiamondFishingProducts.com. All right, now we got some R&R tackle, some flared hawk jigs. Ray Rocher, he's
a fisherman.
He's a
That's
fishing
how you can
guy.
start that out. He's a fisherman.
He's always thinking. He thinks about everything all the time. And these are his new flare hawk jigs.
Dave,
they come from 1 ounce all the way up to 3 ounces. Yeah, they're beautiful. They're really well made. I think that's the 1.5 ounce aspirin head. It comes with a chemically sharpened, very strong mustad hook. Several color patterns. As you can see there, we got all kinds of different colors. It's good for snook, carp, tarpon, cobia, a big grouper on the bottom. You fish that thing down close to the bottom around a spillway or, an inlet, bounce that thing on the bottom.
Look at how pretty these are.
They just do a really good job on all of them.
Good job, Raymond.
Yeah.
I'm a fan already and hadn't even used one. I'm going
know.
to catch something on one of these,
Yeah,
though.
they are very nice looking. All right, last but not least, we've got the Crazy Salts brine. If you're taking care of live baits or dead baits, I'm sorry, you don't want to put that on your live bait. If you're taking care of dead baits, you want to make sure that they're kind of tough. And what this brine does is it takes a lot of the moisture out of the bait, and it makes them stronger. And it's got a little bit of stuff in there that keeps them colorful as well. And what you do is you get your freshly dead bait, and you make yourself a nice brine with some ice water and some of that's Crazy Salts. And then you soak your bait in there for like 2 hours, and then you're ready to rig them up. And you can do the same thing with actually dead. If you've already got frozen bait, you can thaw them out in that. Mm-hmm. What you do is you take the frozen dead baits and you just go ahead and throw them in that same brine and let them thaw in there for 2 hours, and they'll come out and be ready. What it is just, like I said, it toughens up the baits and makes them good to troll for a long time. So.
Well, that was a pretty tough segment. I like it. You did really well.
Yeah, well.
Thank you so much.
No worries.
Brie, let's go.
I need some of those flare hawks to take home. I'm going to try that out.
Can't have them.
What? Just one. Come on,
No.
don't be greedy.
Ray doesn't want you to have one.
Oh, yes, he does.
Sure.
I know,
He
right?
said, don't give one to Brie.
That's what he said.
Whatever, I'm taking one. All right, we're headed back to FaceTime with Captain Tommy D in the Alvey Reels Northeast region for some Studio B time. Hey, Tommy, what's going on?
Hey, Brie, how you guys doing tonight? You know, guys, I'm so glad we're talking trout tonight. We couldn't have timed it any better. It's the perfect time of year to talk about trout here in the Alvey Sidecast Reels Northeast region. You know, my clients catch some of their biggest gator trout of the year in April and May. And, you know, I spoke to numerous captains throughout the region. They all had great trout reports for me. Captain Buzz Brandon from NortheastFloridaAngling.com, he told me he's been catching good numbers of trout in Jacksonville in the St. Johns River near the Dames Point Bridge and around Bartram Island early in the morning on that incoming tide. And he's targeting rocks, docks, any kind of riprap or any kind of eddy. And he's tossing a topwater plug early in the morning and then a subsurface diving plug or a fish bites paddle tail when the sun gets a little higher in the sky. I also spoke to Captain Shane Stover from InshoreAdventures.net. He tells me the trout have been stacking up in the small feeder creeks leading in and out of Pellicer Creek in Palm Coast. Captain Shane, you know, he's having his clients free line that live shrimp and he's rigging it on a 2-aught Eagle Claw circle hook. And he's just letting the shrimp drift in with the incoming tide into those deeper bends of those creeks. And St. Augustine, we're finding our trout on the ICW right along the shell bars, especially where you find the bait schooled up. Now, my biggest springtime trout always seem to come from top water and subsurface plugs. And this time of year, those big gator trout are spawning. So guys, take good care of them, you know, make sure they get a good, healthy release. Now you can see there's a bunch of different ways to catch trout in our region, and that's one reason there's such a popular species here. And I've got a picture. You know, I just so happened to have Captain Rick up in St. Augustine a couple of weeks ago. We were shooting a Sportsman's Adventures, and this is one of his nice trout he caught on one of those top water plugs I was just talking about.
Look at that trout ski.
That trout slurped a mirror lure up on top, didn't he, dog?
And it was fun.
That's right.
All right, so staying inshore, guys, you know, we've had a nice push of flounder showing up in the south end of the region over the past couple of weeks. You know, water temperatures are on the rise, and we've had a big influx of finger mullet, and those flounder have been fired up. Now, we aren't really seeing any monsters as far as size, but there's quite a few fish in that 1 to 4 pound range around. Now, I spoke to Captain Caleb Blackburn from PalmCoastFishing.com. He tells me he's been finding some nice flounder on the last of the afternoon, that afternoon negative low tide we've got going. Captain Caleb says that they've been stacking up at the mouths of the creeks leading into the ICW, as well as those little drains that are coming off the flats, especially the ones, again, holding the schools of bait. Bait is key this time of year. His clients have been using a 1/4 ounce jig head, rigged with either a mud minnow or a small mullet, and they're just dragging those really slow back to the boat right along the bottom. I got another picture here. Captain Caleb sent me this photo of his client, John Cherry, with a nice little Palm Coast flounder. I'm moving offshore. You know, we talked cobia last week, so I thought I'd go there again this week. The cobia have been spotted along the beach following some manta rays. It's been a little sporadic so far. There seems to be quite a few still hanging on the nearshore and offshore reefs, though. Captain Jason Hatches from jhookfishingcharters.com, he told me his clients have been jigging up some nice cobia using those R&R tackle flare hawk jigs that you guys were talking about, as well as some live pinfish when those are available. Now, Jason said there have been some big sharks in that 80 to 100 foot depth around the reefs, and a lot of times when those big sharks are chasing up a snapper or whatever else you might have on the line, those cobia are going to be following them. So have a pitch rod ready with one of those flare hawk jigs. Now, staying offshore, you know, Captain Jason, he also reports that the blackfin tuna are hanging around in good numbers out there near the ledge. He's trolling some small ballyhoo rigged with a sea witch in some different colors. And on days when those tunas are a little spooky, Jason's gonna go light and use a long 60-pound fluorocarbon leader. And he said he's also gonna troll the baits way back if he's not getting bit when he's closer to the boat. Now, while out there trolling, be on the lookout for some mahi and some sailfish that are also in the mix, especially around the bait schools. And I got one last picture here, guys. It's a couple of Jason's young clients with nice blackfin they caught just east of City.
No, you think those boys are learning about sushi already, Tommy?
Oh, I'm craving
Yeah, man.
sushi.
I didn't get a call, but hey, I love some sushi too, man.
Yeah, it's funny how when somebody's got fresh tuna, they forget your phone number, right?
Well, it just goes so fast.
They do.
I know. All right, bud, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the strike zone northeast hotspots. Let's see, they said, or Tommy says, inshore redfish and trout throughout the region on the early morning incoming tide. Toss topwaters and subsurface plugs around the mullet schools. And then offshore, sailfish and blackfin tunas at the ledge throughout the region. Be on the lookout for some of those mahi showing up as well.
Oh, man.
Hey, I got
you
something
said
for you.
Sushi. Oh, what? Got gifts?
Yes, I got gifts. I stole it from Dave. That's one of those R&R tackle cobia jigs. I brought one that somewhat matches the color of your hair.
Well, thank you. It kind of does. Well, hello. All right, Floridians, if you're in the Casa Vieja Southeast region and the Bell Southwest region, we're going to help you get on some fish, so stay hooked on the Florida Insider Fishing Report. But before we go, we want to remind you to keep up with everything fishing in Florida. Make sure you visit our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow and tag us in your photos on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube page, Captain Rick Murphy, where we'll be uploading our shows every Thursday, as well as other fun behind the scenes, how-tos, and fun fishing adventure videos. We'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by StarTron, cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. Alvy Reels, a better way to fish. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 30 years. Diamond Fishing Products, our reputation is on the line. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing, book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Strike Zone Fishing.
Finding a shoreline is easy. Finding a sure thing is not. For over 20 years, anglers from Kitty Hawk to California and every shore in between have come to know one thing: that nothing says no to fish bites. So just stop with the fishing and get busy with the catching. Ask for Fish Bites or Fish Bites Fight Club lures, or visit fishbites.com.
Find Florida's soul and discover Crystal River. Explore warm Gulf waters, spring-fed rivers, bountiful lakes, and fantastic fishing. Dive into adventure and enjoy the only place in the world where you can swim with the manatees. Treat yourself and your family to outdoor fun, rich history, and a relaxed coastal lifestyle. Discover Crystal River, Florida.
Every year, Noble Air Charter flies over 20,000 outdoorsmen and families just like you economically to over 300 Bahamian and Florida destinations. Noble Air Charter makes a substantial investment improving booking and aircraft route planning to create the most affordable and economical flight possible. And tomorrow, Noble Air's team will rise to the challenge to raise the bar yet again.
All right, Rick, the Casa Vieja Southeast region is now in the spotlight, and Captain Jimbo Thomas has just the kind of report you've been needing in your lives. So listen up. Go for it, Jimbo.
That's right, Brie, and hey, everybody else. Well, you know, sea trout fishing here in the Southeast region is decent at the north and the south end. Now, traditionally, the best trout fishing in the region can be found on the grass flats on the west side of South Biscayne Bay in the Gables by the Sea area, and then on both the east and west sides of North Biscayne Bay from Venetian Causeway north to Hulliver Inlet. Then if you are fishing in the north end of the region, look for trout on the east side of Lake Worth Lagoon and in ICW from Southern Boulevard Bridge south to Hypoluxo Island. Now you want to look for areas of good moving water with heavy grass and potholes in the 3 to 8 foot of water. Now, unfortunately, in the south end, we've been losing a lot of our seagrass beds, so you might have to look around to find some good fertile seagrass to find those trout. Also look for any signs of bait fish activity. Now, both live and artificial baits work well on sea trout. Small live pilchards, herrings, or pinfish, fish them under a popping cork, or you can use quarter-ounce Bass Assassin jig heads with 4-inch soft plastic tails. Also surface and shallow running twitch baits and plugs. Those are all great baits to fish for sea trout. Now, the average size fish is 15 to 18 inches, but fish up to 25 inches, which is roughly 4 to 5 pounds, are not uncommon. Now, staying inshore, there's been lots of big tarpon caught in the southeast region. Now, most of the fish are being caught early in the morning and then into the evenings around the bridge shadow lines and in and around the inlets. Now, around the bridges, trying to find where the bait is coming through, and you want to fish on the outgoing tide, get anchored up current and drift your live crabs or shrimp back into the shadow lines. Now, if there's a current rip or a color change, that's where that bait is going to be coming through. That's where those tarpon are going to be. Now, if you're fishing in the inlets, look for the tarpon around the inlet mouths and also off the beaches on both the north and south sides of the jetties. And also look for rolling fish, or you can mark them on your fish finder. Big live shrimp is the bait of choice right now, but a live crab or a live mullet will also work. You want to fish 60, 80-pound fluoro leader. Use a 6.0 to 8.0 laser sharp circle hook and drift those baits through any of those areas that look fishy. Now, in the inlets, the tide doesn't matter as long as there's some movement, and most of these tarpon have been in the 50 to 100-pound range. Now, moving offshore, our best fishing has been along the edge of the Gulf Stream, where we've been finding quite a few blackfin tunas. They've been showing up a little early, and they've been biting in depths from 120 to 250 feet of water. The best baits have been live pilchards and herrings. You want to fish them under the kite, or you can drift them on flat lines. Use a 30 to 40-pound fluorocarbon leader and 4.0 to 6.0 circle hook. Most of the blackfins have been in the 10 to 20-pound range, but I have heard of a few larger ones in the past week. Now, the tunas, they've been biting throughout the day, but first thing in the morning and then late in the afternoon from around 3 o'clock till sunset, that's when they're going to bite the best. There's also been some blackfins caught on the troll using small feathers in 150 to 400 feet of water, but the larger fish are definitely being caught on the live bait. And if you can find some pilchards and live chum, you'll really get those tunas going. Now, I got a photo here. This is Spence Levy with a nice size of blackfin tuna that we caught aboard the Thomas Flyer. Now, staying offshore, basically in the same areas as the tunas and in between the tuna bites, we've been catching quite a few sailfish. Now, most of these sailfish bites have been in 100 to 250 feet of water on live baits fished under the kite from the drift. Goggle eyes, herrings, and sardines are great baits. And with these calm seas that we've had, or relatively calm, keep an eye out for any free-jumping sailfish. And if you can get lined up with them, get your baits out in front of them, there's a good chance of a bite. Now, in the past few days, the bites has also been the best in the late afternoon, just like for those tunas.
All right, thank you so much, Jimbo. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Caddy Can hotspots from the southeast region. Actually, the R&R hotspots inshore catch tarpon in the inlets and along the bridges, shadow lines, fishing with live shrimp and mullet and artificials. And then offshore, kingfish drift live baits in 100 to 300 feet of water for sailfish and blackfin tunas. You know, I jumped my hotspot. I already went to the next guy.
There's a lot going on in that
bad,
brain of yours, you know.
Yeah, man,
it's okay.
I'm trying to juggle this, south, west, east.
All right, you're good. That's what I'm here for.
Okay,
I got
get
you.
with it.
All right, your captain from the Bell's Southwest region is now on the line and has all the tips and tricks you'll need to get a trout on your line. Captain Houston, let's hear it.
Well, like always, it's a pleasure to represent the Bell's Southwest region and to represent everybody in the southwest coast of Florida. You know, the theme species is trout, and you know, some key things for locating trout is clean water, grass, potholes and troughs. Those are all good places to start when you have the conditions I just mentioned. But you know what? At low water, you want to concentrate on working from the edges out to about 3 to 5 foot of depth. Now, old school popping corks with shrimp is how I learned, and believe me, it still works today. But now with advanced technology, noise-making corks like the Bass Assassin Oval Quick Cork, with Bass Assassin soft plastic shrimp and foreign sea shad paddle tails will suffice. But white, yellow, brown bucktail tippler shrimp are very effective. Also, a variety of lipless 3 to 4 inch subsurface hard baits are also effective. Walk the dog top water plugs is really my favorite. But at the moment, the reports I'm getting up to the north from Captain Danny Latham and Captain Corey McGuire, they're telling me these guys right now are catching good-sized trout using live pinfish and live pilchard. And when you're also finding these trout and you get in these areas, you start finding them, the first thing you want to do is either anchor off, stake off, or power pole down. Keep fan casting the areas. As the bite slows up, these fish are just probably moving ahead of you. Lift up the power poles, continue your drift. Once you find them again, repeat the process. I've got a picture here of a nice trout caught up in the northern end of the region while fishing with Captain Danny Latham. Now, species 2 is going to be the tarpon. You want to concentrate your efforts right now from Lossman's River to Coon Key. Tarpon are abundant throughout, especially on the lower stages of the tide, from the edges out to like 6 to 10 feet of water, and they are in groups. You can scan the horizon while out there drifting with the wind and see plenty of fish rolling and free jumping. You want to approach these fish with stealth and let these fish come to you. The Captain Danny Latham reports fish are now starting to show up in the Pine Island Sound, the harbor, and Boca Grande Pass. And the reports I'm getting on baits are cut baits for them lazy fish that don't want to take a live bait, crabs, live threadfins, live pinfish, and a variety of artificial 4 to 6 inch swim baits. And I've got a nice picture of a tarpon release with Captain Danny Latham. And if you notice in that picture how clean the water is. The water is very clean all through the region. And what's really impressive is with the management and the closures we've had for the last 2 years, with another year, I've been fishing a lot to the north, and believe it or not, that fishery is starting to rebound. It needs some work, but you know what? I'm very impressed since the red tide how well it's come back, and that's due to the closures. Now, on the offshore side, the mangrove snappers. Captain Corey McGuire reports that there's really a good mangrove snapper bite to the north from Fort Myers Beach to Stump Pass. The depths vary, so you want to start as close to 60 and work your way out to 90. He's telling me fishing wrecks and ledges. He says good water movement is the key for a consistent bite. Chumming is very important. Just enough chum to get the fish going. His favorite method, believe it or not, is chumming live pilchards. But if you can't locate pilchards, box chum will suffice, and just your simple cut sardines or small baits, drop back with squid, cut sardines, stuff like that will do the trick. Species 2 on the offshore side is going to be the red grouper. Red grouper bite all through the region has been great. To the south, Captain Mike Avanon has been concentrating working depths from Marco Island to Fort Myers Beach to 90 to 110 feet using a variety of cut baits like squid, herring, and sardines. But you know what's funny? Captain Corey McGuire is giving me about the same report to the north. He's also telling me 90 to 100 foot range from Fort Myers Beach to Stump Pass. He says fish are keying in on bigger baits such as big grumps or butterflies. But he also says traditional baits such as frozen sardines and squid will work as well. I got a nice red grouper picture with Captain Mike Avanon. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, the weather's nice, the water's clean. Get out and get you some fresh air. Support your local tackle shops, businesses, and don't forget them guides if you want to learn how to catch some fish all through the region.
So, Ronnie, you done with your report that quick?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, I got a couple questions for you. You know, you were talking about the tarpons being off of in the lower part of your region. You know, I'd like to go tarpon fishing, so can you throw me a little bone? What's the depth of water there, and is the water clear down there?
Well, I can tell you right now, even though we've had some southeasterly winds the last few days, the water is extremely clear. I think it's really too clear on the southern end to fish the inshore. The fish are, you know, they'll spot you. But for tarpon fishing, it's been really good. You want to concentrate, from what I've seen, on the lower stages of the tide. Like I said, work off the edges. Right now, the key areas I've been seeing these fish in, and a few guys fishing some of these fish, are going to be from Highland Beach right now to Pavilion Key in those depths of 6 to 10 foot. Being that you'd like to do some fishing and you're coming from the Flamingo side, I strongly suggest start around the Shark. I haven't seen too many. Work your way up to Highland Beach, Rick, and work your way between there and Pavilion Key.
All right, I like it. You know, the other thing I want to talk to you about is in the middle part of your region and where Mike Avanon fishes out of. Fort Myers, they got some really pretty beach there. If you hear of anybody finding some poons headed towards Boca Grande, give me a shout, okay, bud?
You got it, bud. Always a pleasure representing the Bell Southwest region, Rick.
All right, man, you're the best. Thanks. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Caddy Can hotspots from the Southwest region. Our boy Ronnie says that inshore, Snook, Marco to Fort Myers Beach. Look at the beaches and the passes on the higher stages of the tide using live pilchards, white bucktails, silver spoons, and a variety of flies. And then offshore, cobias, Indian Key to Wiggins Pass, fishing the nearshore wrecks and artificial reefs using live baits, bucktails, pilchards, and a variety of 4 to 6 inch swim baits, Brie.
Ronnie is such a pro. He's so smooth.
He's smooth. He's always been that way. Always been that way. Since 2004, he's been our guy.
Smooth since 2004. All right, my anglers, coming up on the Florida Insider Fishing Report. We're headed to the GARMIN Panhandle region next, so sit tight and get ready to reel. We'll be right back.
All right.
All right.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. The Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. The IGFA. Fish for the world. Sportsman's Adventures. Fishing for adventure. And Bell's. Everything you need to live life local.
When you live on an island, surrounded by warm, clear water, and a million ways to enjoy it, it's amazing you'll ever have time to come up for air. Key West. Close to perfect, far from normal.
Life beyond the gravitational pull of the city requires a can-do attitude. It takes versatility to accomplish all that needs to be done, and enough power to never get in over your head. The Kubota L-Series tractor pulls up its bootstraps, hooks up to its many attachments, and gets the job done right. That's why it's the #1 selling compact tractor in America.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
Have you ever felt your heart pounding while feeling the power of a tarpon in the Florida Keys? Or experienced the changing colors of a mahi as you bring it on board? Whether it's in the Bahamas, the Florida Keys, Guatemala, or the Florida Everglades, Murphy's Law Sports Fishing has the ability to guide you to the fish of a lifetime. To book your trip today, call 305-246-0673 or go to murphyslawsportfishing.com.
Today's Powerful tip is about the new Charge Marine Power Station. After the charge is installed in your boat, the key thing to do is to log into the Sea Monster app and let the Charge know what type of batteries you're working with. The Charge is designed to work with gel, lead acid, AGM, even lithium batteries, but the key is letting it know what you got in the boat. So for our trolling motor batteries in this Pathfinder, we've got 2 Odyssey trolling motor batteries. They're big, deep cycle batteries that last all day long. I want to go into the Sea Monster app and let it know exactly how much reserve capacity is in those batteries, and Charge is going to optimize and charge those to the fullest. But for our cranking battery, we've got a different chemistry. It's a lead acid. We will do the drop down and let the Charge know we're working with the lead acid battery on the cranking side, how much reserve capacity is in that, and the Charge is going to optimize a different battery type for your outboard. For more information, go to powerpull.com, and that's your tip of the week.
That's a pretty good tip right there. All right, let's see what Captain Deneen has to tell us in the GARMIN Panhandle region about the bite this weekend. Go for it, Pat.
Hey, Brie. Speckled trout fish has been pretty good up here lately. We've had warm weather. The trout have moved out of their wintertime spots up onto the grass flats. From St. Joe to Pensacola, the trout fishing has been really steady. You want to pay particular attention to the flats outside of the mouths of bayous and canals. Basically, flats close to the places that those fish spend the winter. When you get a bite, drop the power pole and start casting. Generally, you're going to catch several more in that area. live baiting with shrimp or small minnows under a cork is particularly effective. But personally, I prefer to lure fish, casting soft plastics like the Bass Assassin paddle tails or twitch baits, and with a light jig head, very light, because you don't want to get down into the grass bottom. Chartreuse and white is a good color combination. The clearer the water, generally the lighter the colors. Springtime is when we catch some of the largest trout of the year. And there's a photo of Lucky Chuck, sent in from Lucky Chucky in Navarre. He took young angler Nixon fishing this past week. And here is Nixon with one of the many early morning trout that he caught that
Look
morning.
at that smile. He
Pretty
looks
little
so
angler.
happy.
Wow.
I love that.
Building the next generation, Pat.
That's it.
All right.
Staying inshore, the Spanish mackerel, they've been thick along all our beaches and within our passes, really for the past several weeks. Schools of mackerel are moving east to west along the beaches, and the incoming morning tides are bringing them into the passes and into the southern parts of the bay. Trolling a Christmas tree rig is certainly the most effective way to catch Spanish mackerel. You can often catch them 2 or 3 at a time. But it's also a great time to break out the 6-weight fly rod or even lighter and cast clouser minnows or streamer minnows. Generally, once again, the lighter colors seem to be better, pearls and whites. Use a trace of wire, 40-pound leader, or a long shank hook to minimize your cutoffs. And then their Spanish are good eating fresh. They don't freeze well if you want to eat them, but fresh, they're great. But it's also a great time to just brine them up and load the freezer up, because Spanish make great blue water baits for this coming summer. The Spanish are running 12 to 20-plus inches, so that's been a really consistent bite lately. Moving offshore, and speaking of offshore baits, daytime sword fishing is productive year-round in the northern Gulf, but the springtime seems to be one of the most consistent times of the year. Anglers dropping baits to the bottom in 12 to 1,600 feet of water around the spur, the steps, and the dumping grounds, consistently hooking and catching swordfish lately. Use a sacrificial weight to get your bait down to the bottom, and I go to the local scrapyard and buy rebar. They're in 3-foot sections, and use that with a small copper hook to break it free once it gets to the bottom. Squid are traditional baits, but butterflied Spanish or Panama strips made from bonita or other fish also make excellent, in my opinion, if not better baits. Rig your baits on 200 to 250-pound leaders and attach a couple of lights up above the bait on your wind-on. And there's a photo of Captain Jared Ortenzo out at Destin. He took a group out sword fishing recently, put them on this really nice swordfish, and they also had several other bites that day.
That's nice. Good job, Pat. All right, what else you got for me? One more, Bubba.
Man, staying offshore, Rick, man, the yellowfin tuna fishing has been exceptional lately, with good-sized fish coming in from the rigs. And it's a pretty good boat ride, but it's worth going. So you want to either troll live baits or chunk with cut baits around the rigs. And if you're going to be fishing the lump in that shallower water, you're going to definitely want to chunk with menhaden, bonita, or kingfish. And the leader size, you may get away with a 100-pound leader, especially in that dirtier water by the lump. But if you get out to that blue water, clear water, you're probably going to have to drive down to 80 or even 60 to get the bite. Some really big tunas are being caught. Several over 200 and plenty over 100 have been caught recently. So that's been really good, and should be good for the next several weeks.
Hey, Pat, I got a question for you. Talked about brining those mackerel if you're going to use them for a swordfish bait. How do you like to do that? It was one of our new products, was a new brine. How do you like doing it, Pat?
Man, the best way is to have your cooler ready with ice and salt water in it, and then add the brine material to kind of make it. The fish want to go straight from the hook into a slush bath of icy brine, and that's the way to do it.
All right. Well, thank you for that. I want to know more about that, but we got plenty of time this season to talk about it. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the blue water outrigger hotspots for the Panhandle region. Pat says inshore, the Spanish mackerel, all up and down. The second sandbar on the Gulf side. Troll Christmas tree rigs to catch those Spanny Macs, and then offshore, take a trip to the rigs and the lumps for big yellowfin tunas and troll live baits or chunks. Does that B-roll footage of that yellowfin?
It brings back so many memories.
Good and bad?
Good and bad. Bad because I'm not there doing it, but that was such a fun trip. That was with Sportsman Adventures, my first yellowfin at Casa Vieja.
We'll do it again, I promise.
Okay, he promised. He promised. That means something.
That means something.
All the reports are in, and I see trout on your lines in the near future. But stay hooked for a little longer to find out what species is in our future next week, only on the Florida
Insider
Fishing Report.
All right.
Woo.
Yamaha is legendary for it. But it's more than a legend. It's something boaters have come to value. Why? Because it's rare. Because in this fast-paced, single-use world, few things are built to last. So when we find something that is, we hold on for dear life, to friendships, to traditions, to outboards. Because it's the lucky few who get to spend as much time on the water as they'd like. The rest of us, we look forward to those precious few days. That makes every second sacred. Every moment mean that much more. And it drives us to wring the most of every minute we get on the water, having incredible adventures, fighting the fish, making unforgettable memories. If you count on having this time, you need an outboard you can count on to power it. That's why boaters choose Yamaha for the long run, for life. Because reliability starts here.
What started in the flats and bays has migrated offshore. GPS-guided trolling motor technology has moved to boats in the 35-plus foot class and allowed anchoring capabilities on most center consoles in any depth of water. From snook and redfish inshore to grouper and swordfish way out deep, RHODAN Marine Systems has a GPS anchor to hold your vessel on location. Set it, forget it, catch more fish.
The only reel with over 100 years of heritage. Alvi Sidecast reels allow you to cast over 150 yards with up to 900 yards of capacity. Alvi's state-of-the-art drag and 22-inch retrieve rate per wind is perfect for any surf challenge. Alvi reels are manufactured to best practice standards and are in fact so robust that the Alvi also comes with a 10-year salt and sand warranty. For more information, go to alvius.com.
Rick knows how to clear a room. Yes. Next week, we are catching sailfish, so make sure to tune in. It's going to be a really, really fun show.
So,
Rick,
Brie, you've been fishing a bunch. What have you been catching?
I have been fishing a bunch. Sailfish,
Yes.
some tuna,
Yes.
some kingfish.
Yes.
That's pretty much what the captain's been talking about. Some bottom fishing here and there, caught some porgies, caught some snapper, you know.
You've been doing what they've been doing.
I've been doing what they've been doing. It must be true.
Yeah.
I've been hurling spears at tilapia.
What?
Yeah, it's fun.
Well,
spear and
that sounds
tilapia.
like-
Yeah, they get all around my dock and dig big holes everywhere, so I like to clear them out.
Do you eat them?
I don't.
Dave,
because-
they're really good to eat.
Not the ones in my lake.
How do you know that?
Because I opened one up the other day and it smelled like a burnt tire inside.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's not good water in my lake.
That's tilapia for you. What have you been up to, Rick?
I've been building this new set and getting everything ready for you and Dave, but
Being the
it's ready.
businessman.
It's
almost
nice.
time
It's
to
very nice.
It's almost time to play Dave and I
It's almost
tomorrow.
time to be the fisherman.
Are
All right,
going
guys,
in the
thanks for
airboat
tuning in. Stay
go bass
healthy,
fishing
stay
in the
safe.
Everglades.
We'll see you next week for Sailfish.
Bye.